Alright, more on the video server idea. Okay, first of all, let me just recap how this has gone. A lot of people have had ideas like this. Well, a few months ago, I went and did a bunch of research, did my kind of video that takes more effort that I enjoy doing, but I just don't have time for, which involves, PowerPoints and diagrams and things. And I priced up what it would cost to do a YouTube-like server based on the dominating streaming server and a couple recent competitors. And a dominant server is the Flash media server. Sites like Stick'em need a server like that for live video. I calculated on a server like that my use of YouTube's costing YouTube like $80 a month, and I'm like, what the fuck? So I started off hoping it could be $1 a month, I just thought with commodity internet these days, sure. Okay, and then I posted, okay, well this is a little more expensive than I thought. Sorry, I don't see this as sustainable. But then I kept looking and I found out that YouTube works on a thing called pseudo streaming. Well, I didn't just keep looking. I knew it was possible to stream videos from an HTTP server, we all know, but what you might not know is the reason sometimes you're on a server you can't seek ahead. That's a problem with your default vanilla HTTP server, but there's some plugins that allow you to stream because it's not really used as much as it could be, but a feature of HTTP is you don't have to get a whole page. You can say, hey, give me the page starting at byte whatever. So you could keep track of a download and resume and whatnot. And this also allows you to seek ahead, where you never had the data in the first place. Okay, so they have these pseudo streaming servers, and they don't do live video, but they do allow seeking, and they allow the use of commodity internet hardware. So I began to think it was possible again, and I've gotten busy with some other things. Meanwhile, I'm working on my own software projects that are not a part of this, except for one of them, which you can see part of it in what's published in the video timecode tool, will rely on it. Right now that site relies on YouTube. I would make it so it could rely on this other site because I want to create something more reliable for YouTube. I want to create something, with rules like when you post a video and reply to somebody, good, it becomes part of the structure of that debate. You can't remove that video. You own that video, but we reserve the right to keep that and play that because it's part of a conversation. Now, one of the biggest, I have experience, right? I worked in the game industry. I worked in the .com industry a decade. And it's, there's interesting phenomena. And what's interesting to me is the way that analytics of a situation, a business situation, change with scale. Okay, and I'll tell you exactly what I mean because it's at play here. When I ran the numbers, one thing that became clear is that what's cheap online is if you have one guy with a video and millions want to watch it. So you have one writer and millions of readers. In other words, you have a show that people primarily want to watch. When you have conversations, the audience is making videos as well. So you aren't maximizing the viewer to producer ratio. You aren't trying to make that some crazy big number or small number. I forget which way I just stated it, but whatever, you know what I mean. Some people like myself don't even want that. I don't want 40 million viewers. I want enough viewers, I want 2,000 regular viewers, which means 200 views, so that there's 20 people actually commenting and 2 of them are making a video reply. Okay? It's like a sweet spot in this. So now think about this. YouTube is in a situation where how they're going to make the most money is creating Onision and Smosh. Alright? Even if they make money off of our part of the market, the return percentage is going to be worse. If they're successful overall, eventually they're going to just turn on squeezing out the things with bad return ratios. unless they have some sort of mission or reason to, like if they thought this community seeded their other community somehow, was like a read agent that helped it happen. Or if they thought, hey, this is important, we're going to try to create this public service, and they're going to support us because, like the cable company supports C-SPAN. It says, well, it's a public service we can do, and we're making money off of it, or breaking even, so. But they don't think that. No, quite the opposite. Someone like me, I get marked for music violations when I use free iMovie music. They're software identified. They don't give a damn that I'm a free speech. I mean, I have a lot more access to fair use than someone like Smosh or Onision. I use them both because Onision's such a terrible person, and Smosh is just that kind of entertainment. It's not my cup of tea, nothing against them. Them or whatever it is. Sorry, kids. I don't really follow that too closely. So my point is that there's no way that in the business model of a YouTube, long run, that we are secure at all. Okay, we need to secure maximization of the conversation. Now, that has to be profitable in the sense that a business has to make money to both sustain itself and fund its natural growth, right? And I think there's no problem with that. But it's not going to happen at a site that's trying to maximize serving videos for the maximum number of users. It has to be someone that's trying to maximize the value of that conversation. Okay. Now, it's obvious to me what the value of that conversation is. If you had a site that really did that and debate software and stuff, then there's a lot of people that have, practical uses for it. People run for office in counties. I mean, they could do their debates online, right? So they would buy accounts, and so that's just never going to be like NBC. That's not a mass market thing. That's more like, Economist magazine. Yeah, there's a market for these kinds of magazines. It's never planned to be like the way hit movies are marketed or supported. It's a different thing. So we have to create this and carve out this part of the market that is so small, basically, from a YouTube point of view. They don't care about it. They can't serve it. It's too distracting. They don't have the value system. They're developing a value system of how do we help these guys have their internet shows and have livelihoods from it, and then we make money, we all make money together. They have to focus on that. That's not compatible with how do I support maximizing the value of public conversation. Because right now, any of its value is just through the sheer will and heroism of the participants. Pat yourself on the back. And most of the value goes to weight, becomes heat and light, because the system that we're using to do it does not actually maximize the value of the conversation. And it can easily be done. I can tell you I have told and will continue to explain how it could be done, whether we do a project or not. I mean, at least the knowledge, because it is possible to do, to improve. And, I don't have to think I have all the final answers to say that. I just know that there's incrementally better tools that could be made available. And a lot of it, to me, is things like the timecode tool. That is never something that a majority of the public conversants probably would spend a lot of time with. Their hobby does not include that kind of careful, unless they get really mad and really want to pick someone apart. But the 1% of the people that want to use it a lot, and the 1% of the time the rest of the people find a reason to use it, facilitates a kind of tracking of information that helps to, for sure, enhance the value of the conversation. I can make that prediction that there will be this information stored, and that information has value if it's accurate, and software systems could be made so that, based on what kind of accuracy you're going for, like if you're getting public opinion, you need to, it's a public opinion poll accuracy. If you're trying to get the reality, you need your, measuring stick to be accurate. There's principles of that, they're debatable, but I'm just saying, yeah, I know that there's tools that will help maximize that. I want a server separate from me making that tool, a server that's just a regular old commodity server, nothing super, whatever is available right now, we get it, we install ClipBucket, we institute the principles that we need for that kind of server, and then it does whatever the open source software allows it to do. At the very least, it'll be a streaming HTTP server that other sites can use. So at my debate site, when you click reply, it's going to talk to this public server and store the video, but the database for all the replies and stuff and how that all works and implementing the rules of conversation and letting that be configurable, that's all at my site. It's separate. I'm just using this as a streaming media server because not all of the sites and all the different ideas between, you know, Fred and myself and Gary and the Amazing Atheist or any of that, we don't need to make our own version of a video storage server. That's just straightforward engineering. Okay, it's not really what I want to work on, but then again, it's limited. And yeah, it's true. I could have a $3,000 machine. It would take me, you know, a couple days to a week of work setting it up. In calendar time, that it might be 2 or 3 weeks, but within the first week, you'd be able to, you know, log into it at my house. You know, users, investors, people that were involved would already be able to start testing it within just even a couple days. I would be really into it when it got here, and I would probably spend a couple days just setting it up, get it up so that it's awake on my network, and then within a few weeks, we're all happy with it. We put it in a co-location service. That's all entirely doable. I can set up any machine. If there's any kind of roadblock, if that software can run on that machine, I can do it. If I have to recompile the software, whatever. So obviously, though, you know, I'm hoping not to have to do too much of that, but I know how I install things in Linux all the time, so there's no voodoo to me. I know it's probably going to go smoothly, and then there'll be a few things that take me a few extra hours or don't work the standard way because of the kind of operating system I've chosen to install, and you have to do a setting. So yeah, that's all doable. It's just an engineering task. I like creating new software systems of things that have never been done. I don't like redoing stuff. But I could save us a lot of money doing it because I for sure can do it. So, and that's the real thing, is because that's the real cost. I mean, you could get a machine, you could use an old machine and free software, and the money you're going to spend is people just plugging it together, setting up config files, getting it all running, and, you know, getting the web server to be able to send them emails and this kind of thing. And that just racks up incredibly quickly. You need if you need a month of that kind of work, you know, we're talking some serious cash there. You know, $50 to $100 an hour at least to really know. I mean, you could spend $20 an hour, and then it'll take you longer, maybe never get done, be crappy when it's over, and you end up spending the same amount of money because the guy needs twice as long to do it, to do it wrong. So yeah, I'm very into doing things right. So that's saving tens of thousands of dollars, including my, you know, and not in partly because I will take less time to do it. I know exactly what's involved with that. So, and that's why I want to do it, is just because this kind of thing has to be there. And I see the long-term systematics of YouTube, which I haven't run afoul of too much, but it's already hitting, and I'd rather do it sooner rather than later. I think right now there's people, Nick and Fred and Gary, that really, them using their own sites, and they can say, well, it's just a site, it's just as easy to come to as YouTube. No, it's not, because it's 4 different websites, and it's a different way of telling me what's new, and they don't necessarily have reply systems that I understand, and it's ClipBucket, which that's what I'm going to put on our server, but only so that at secondary sites they have the real interface that most users will use. Because ClipBucket is like, I think it's good to have on a server like we're talking about making, because then you know you can get there, you can get at your video, someone can play it, you can link it from your Facebook or whatever. But as far as actually clicking reply and stuff, I mean, I don't like ClipBucket, you know, and there is no way to say, hey, I want to reply to this, and so I'm going to make something that does that has its own database, separate from the indexing database that ClipBucket has. Right. Now, if somebody else wanted to do that, because that is something just an IT guy can do, I could tell them what to install, specify it, everything like that. Maybe you might be closer to a cheap co-location service. I'm totally open to that, especially since I have a lot of ideas on how I want a business to run, but I'm not opening that up. I already have a partner. We're already doing our own thing. Okay, and those are separate, right? This, I just want to make a sustainable thing. I think it needs to evolve or start as a kind of a co-op and a member supported by the people who think it needs to exist, who use it, viewers and the video producers. Needs to be, for them, shared resource. Okay, cheers.